Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be doing some collage using the amazing Womenkind magazine and using some really simple stenciling in the background. So I am starting off on this page using some light blue, I think this is a mineral and a little bit of carnation in the back. I wanted to have some really soft colours. I knew that I wanted to use those images on the right hand page, so I was choosing some lighter colours because they're quite bright. It would sort of fit in the background. And for those of you who are interested, that little bunny peeking over the lady's head, my daughter stole my journal and did some pictures for me in my journal, which I absolutely love. So it's a very special page for me. She's very proud of her Easter bunny that she drew. So I have been playing around with using my gloss sprays a little bit more. I'm really liking the sort of watery effects you get from them. So I chose to use that to make my stencil background. So that's why I put paint in the background. I sealed the page basically. So if you didn't have the colours in the background, I would suggest if you want to do something similar, put some gesso in the background. The reason I used the different colours was I want to have some different colours peeking through. Then when I poured on my gloss sprays, I tipped it out and used my brush to spread it out over the page, and then just used a wet wipe to wipe it away, so you get this sort of ghosting effect with the different colours coming through. But as I did it, I had some of those extra paints left out, or I missed some of the colours. It went a little bit too blue, so I wanted to put some of those colours back in again. And because of the stencil I chose, this is one of the Stencil Girl stencils, one of their script stencils. It has got some quite open loops and little negative spaces in there, so it was really easy to take a thin paintbrush and paint in some of the little areas. I'm just going in and just randomly adding a little bit of extra colour, and it kind of reminded me of like a really simple stained glass. So it's, it's just a really easy background that you could do for anything, and I think it's really pretty. Whether you used a script stencil like I've done here, or even flowers, just something that's got a bit of open space, it's fairly easy to paint in some larger and smaller areas, and just use some of the colours you've got in the background. So obviously I've got those really soft colours in the background, but then I can add a little bit of extra brightness to them by adding them up. And basically I just kept painting until I used up all the paint on my palette. So no rhyme or reason. You can see I didn't put out too much paint to begin with, but I haven't painted it all in, so I have left gaps that you can still see that background peeking through. So you've got basically just these layers happening, which I really loved. Obviously if you didn't have the acrylic paint, you could use your paint pens, or you could go in with colour pencil over the top too, just to add a little bit of interest. So once I've done that, I'm going to work out where to put my figures, but first I want to ground them a little bit. So particularly with figures like that, they've got such a strong stance on the ground, so to speak, they need to be connected to the ground in some way. It wouldn't have made sense if I had just put them at the bottom of the page, just in the way that they were kind of sitting. So I needed to actually draw in a floor, so to speak. So I've done that by putting in just a strip of contrasting colour. So I've got the fuchsia there, and then I have just used the same sort of technique with wiping away some of the extra paint. So I've got it peeping through from underneath, which is really easy way to go. Just trying to think what I did with this page. I like that. So any extra paint I have on my page, I will paint into another page to use for another day. I find that it's a really easy way to get quick backgrounds for another day. I call them my use it up pages. To push my little ladies out from the background, I'm just going over it with my Stabilo Ore pencil, and then just water activating that, so you can see you get sort of this instant shadow happening, which pushes it out from the background. You could obviously use sort of black pen and stuff, but I really like that shadowed effect, that soft muted effect, by having the Stabilo Ore pencil. You just do need to be a little bit careful with that, in the fact that you're using cut magazine images, and sometimes it can bleed into the edge of the page. Some people have suggested you can seal those up with clear gesso. To be honest, it's never been a huge issue, and it doesn't really bother me if it does seep in a little bit. It's just added to the effect of the page. But if that does bother you, you might like to look into using some clear gesso to seal the edge of the page and then put your shadow on. To add some extra detail over the top, I'm just going in with a fine white pen and doing some really scribbly lines over the top. So using the lines that are there and just adding to them to add some extra detail to the piece. So as I said before, if you missed it, these images are from, it's called the Womenkind magazine. I've been using them quite a bit, and they all came out of the same issue. The issue that I'm using, I have no idea what volume it is, but the front page looks like the Ukrainian flag. It's got that beautiful blue and yellow with a beautiful face with flowers in her hair on the top. Don't know if that helps or not. But the one thing I really liked about it, and I honestly can't comment on this for other issues of that magazine because I've only ever had the one, but in that one magazine there are amazing artworks, and they've obviously thought about people like me because they're not on one page or the other. You don't need to make that choice of which one am I going to cut into. They've been spaced out with articles in between, so you've got a lot of collage fodder to use, and if you get round to it, some interesting magazine articles to read. But to be honest, I just got straight into the magazine and chopped it to pieces. I did have to buy a replacement copy for my mum. She's read the article, she said it was quite good, but I never quite got there. So once I've finished, I'm going in and writing a quote on my page. And I'm just doing that with thin white pen. It's quite a long quote. And then drying it off just so that I can sort of play around with it and not to put my hands in it, because I am a terror for putting my hands in things and smudging it. So once I've written it out, that's the first time I write it out is to kind of work out the spacing. And then I go in with a thicker pen and thicken up some of the downstrokes and the serifs on my page. So I do that by adding little triangles on the ends of my letters, and I also, if I've got room to extend them upwards or downwards, I will do that. That helps to fill in the space on your page a little bit and make it look like you've, very carefully planned it so it just barely fits on your page, even though, when I first wrote it out, there was quite a bit of space around each of those letters. So it gives you that little bit of room to play with, so to speak. I choose to write in paint pen to begin with because all my background is acrylic paint, so that page is now sealed. So what will happen is if I make a spelling mistake or if something doesn't quite fit, I can get a wet wipe and wipe it off straight away. It's not going to mark the page in any way. I'm quite heavy-handed with pencil, so if I'd written it out with pencil first, I probably would have dented the page. I have been known in the past to use my Stabilo All pencil to draw it out, because if I make a mistake I can use a wet wipe and wipe it away as well. Because again, I have terrible trouble with erasers. I will, rub off half the layers to get rid of something. So if I can just wipe it away with a wet wipe, it makes it an awful lot easier for everyone. Now I've written out my quote, I'm just going in with my white paint pen and doing a bit of a drop shadow to push it out from the background. So to find my quotes, quite often get people asking me where I find my quotes. I will go to Pinterest and put in some keywords. So the fact that this was two friends or two sisters, I think I've put in sister quotes for this page to find something, because I obviously have two daughters. I've got sisters there, and I've got a sister, so it's something important to me. So you can see here, having the pen work over the top, how that works, those lovely patches of colour in the background from that stenciling, and how putting that white over as a drop shadow on my quote helps push it out from the background. So it's a bit hard to see in the overall picture, but you can obviously see the detail in the close-up. So I hope you have a go at doing that simple background. Really, really easy. You could use it for so many different things. Be gorgeous on the front of a card too. A really easy technique to use in many different ways. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye for now.